you had some heavy hitters as producers, executive producers. I mean, people that you see are A-listers.
You're my new PR guy. any questions, I'm sending them to you. A lot of stories about, you know, the one last ride to win it all and all that. But this isn't quite that story. It's more.
Welcome to the Luke Branquinho Show. I have a really special guest on here, and I got the privilege of watching his new film, and it was amazing. Carlyle Eubank, thanks for joining me, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Luke.
Hey, I got to get right into it. Obviously, we're going to talk about the release and everything, but Broke, your new film, was absolutely amazing.
Nothing and nobody can make me feel as alive as I do when I'm on the back of that horse for 8 seconds.
I got the privilege of, you know, getting to watch it with my son, and you want to talk about something that it just keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time.
Thank you.
That was amazing. Tell me about it. I mean, obviously you know the Western industry, but to put a piece together like that was awesome.
Yeah. It's always sort of been a goal of mine to make a Western, a modern Western. I wanted to do it from a perspective of somebody who's lived around it and lived in it, you know, and sort of been in the culture my whole life. There aren't a ton of really authentic contemporary Westerns out there and haven't been for a while. I mean, obviously you have shows like Yellowstone, which are super huge and popular and really lean into being authentic. You know, this is a little different because it's an independent film.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to do it from an authentic perspective, and it just starts with a script. I wrote the script as well, and then trying to find the right partners in terms of producing and then the talent. You know, so when you want to tell something authentically, you know, casting is so important. You want people, when you first see a character, you just don't want to break what they call the suspension of disbelief, where you're like, wait, what? This guy is usually a mafia guy or something.
Yeah, that's what I was just
you know what I
ask
mean?
you.
So
you might have somebody that fits the cowboy persona, but doesn't fit that as far as like what they've seen before.
Exactly. So, you know, obviously, you know, I wanted to make a movie, so I wanted professional actors, you know, instead of, like, you know, using real cowboys to do the acting.
And I was wondering why I didn't get a call. I get it.
I know. Well, I got some nasty texts.
I can imagine.
No, but you know, it's just about trying to find the right partners, and someone like Wyatt Russell, who, you know, his dad is, you know, famously Wyatt Earp and so many other things. And Wyatt himself grew up around horses and just has a great sort of look. And then of course, Dennis Quaid, they're just both really good, naturally, they meld naturally into that sort of world. So yeah, it was trying to marry, you know, Hollywood, but authentic. And it wasn't always easy, but you know, when it's when it was right, it felt right, and then we just roll with that passion and momentum. And also the great thing about Wyatt and Dennis, not only were they just kind of right for the project, they're both super passionate and very, like, you need that passion, especially when you're making an independent movie. You need passion, because typically independent just means you don't have money. So you have to compensate for that with a lot of passion, because it just means a lot of, you know, investing your time, because you don't have a ton of money. I mean, we were always given what we needed, but, you know, we're not operating on a giant studio budget.
Right. Well, Broke, it releases May 6th, and tell the fans, you know, where they can get it, where they could see it.
Yeah, it's going to be streaming. So the best places to rent it would be Amazon and Apple, and then I think Fandango. I'm not as familiar with Fandango, but that's one of the things they listed. But the big ones that I saw were Apple and Amazon.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to wait till the end with this, but you kind of brought it up with, being independent and having to have passion because you don't have the funding. But on the credits, I watched start to finish the credits. I wanted to see who was all involved. You
Mm-hmm.
had some heavy hitters as
Yeah.
producers, executive producers. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
people that you see are A-listers.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so that means that passion and what they've seen you write and what they've seen you bring to life,
Yeah.
they believed in it.
Yeah. Yeah, the people that got involved, were passionate, because before there was a yes, there were a lot of no's,
Hmm.
Westerns just in Hollywood always are fighting some kind of like bizarre stigma of like the Western is always dying, but then
Right.
at the same time, like I mentioned before, you have such gigantic hits like Yellowstone. So it's always a little bit confusing, like why they say that when there's so many obvious success stories. But regardless, there were a lot of no's, and then there were yeses, and all you need is one yes.
And this conversation comes up weekly with me. They're like, "What do you see as far as what Yellowstone has brought to the Western
Hmm.
industry, and
Yeah.
what films like this will bring to the Western industry?" And I
Yeah.
said, people want and they crave that ideal of being a cowboy, cowgirl, the Western way of life, the way that this country was honestly founded on.
Objective I had was to kind of show kind of how tough it can be, but to do that in like a dignified way, and not try to oversell how hard it is, but to kind of show, whether it's trying to make a living in putting up hay, or trying to make money as a rodeo cowboy. Like, there's a lot of stories about, the one last ride to win it all, and all that. But this isn't quite that story. It's more just kind of the hard knocks of that life,
Absolutely.
and I'm sure you can appreciate that as much as anybody, having done it. But I mean, obviously you were a lot more successful than my character, but yeah, I just wanted to show it in an authentic way, and that isn't code for depressing or anything like that, but just I think it's good to tell the stories of kind of how gritty it really can be.
Well, and yeah, to that point, when people watch rodeo, when they follow the cowboys and cowgirls, they see the success stories. Very rarely do they see the hard knocks, the struggles, and not only that, but you're on the road, you get the crap beat out of you, you get
Yep.
home, it's back to the farming field where
Yep.
you get the crap beat out of you, and you're
Yep.
trying to just scratch by to make a living, and,
Yep.
and even to what the film is, has in it, which I'm not going to go into and make you guys
Right.
watch it,
Right.
but
Yeah.
the family struggles
Yep.
along the way.
Yep.
Okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. We're going to go this path. Well, and we've seen what happened.
I hope, one of the hopes I have is when people watch this movie, that it kind of hits them in the heart like that, and sort of lets them know they're not alone. This is like a big universal kind of phenomenon.
Yeah, absolutely. I know me watching it in all my career, it hit me in dang sure certain spots. But I think that's the best part of it. It's real life and it's real. But we're going to go to break right now. When we come back, we'll have more with Carlyle Eubank. He is the writer and director of Broke. I know everybody says bull riding is dangerous, most dangerous, but bareback riding is the most physically demanding event.
The rodeo communities at large were really, really great. I'll just say it. It was miserable. It was a hard, hard, hard movie.
What do you do, bud? Ride Bronx.
Really?
You may run for a long time, run on.
Welcome back to the Luke Branquinho Show, here with Carlyle Eubank, writer-director of Broke. This film is coming out, releasing May 6th. Carlyle, great conversation in the first segment. What was it like? I mean, I know you're part of the Western culture, Western industry, so being able to make a picture like this, and then getting in the arena, out on the ranch, doing hay. I mean, what was that like?
Like in production?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, this movie was like, I think it's one of those experiences that is, I remember it with great fondness, but then I also, if I think about it hard enough, I remember just how, I'll just say it, it was miserable. It was a hard, hard, hard movie. I mean, I love the movie so much.
Right.
and I love every experience making it, but it was not easy. You know, as people will see, there's like kind of two timelines threaded
Yep.
together. And one is in a blizzard, which we just shot in a blizzard. We went to Montana in February during a what did they call it? It was like an Arctic blast or some
Oh
crazy
man.
thing. It was like -25. Our cameras would freeze, and everyone was like freaked out. I don't mind the cold, so it was kind of fun for me, but you get nervous because things are failing and you have no cell service because we're in central Montana. But it was definitely an adventure. And then so we shot that in the winter, and then we took like a 3-month break and went back to the same place. And when people see the movie, they'll see kind of like how that works, and why that was necessary. But yeah, then we went back in the summer and then had a more traditional 25-day shoot, but the original winter shoot was like a 10-day smaller shoot. But then, the summer was great, but it had different challenges because we had kind of more of a real production, more actors, more crew,
Right.
more location moves. So, yeah, it became challenging in a different way, but the most fun part about the summer shoot was we coordinated and worked with a bunch of real rodeos that were going on in Montana. So every weekend when we really should have like had our days off, we were just going to rodeos. So we went to the Livingston Roundup, we went to Drummond, and went to Three Forks, and then we put a rodeo on in Butte,
Oh wow.
Montana. But the fun part about that was we would find local bareback riders and basically just say, hey, we'll pay your entry fees and pay you whatever the SAG rate is for stunts. So they were getting paid pretty well. If they won, they got their winnings and got paid. If they lost, they still got paid. So it was great. The only stipulation was they had to wear a wig and a costume.
Did you have anybody balk at that?
Dude, no, nobody did. But what was great was some of the rides. I mean, our makeup artist was super great, and her life's mission was to make sure the wig didn't come off. And so she was gluing that thing so hard to people's head. But sometimes in the middle of the ride, their hat would come off, and then their wig would just get stuck to the back of the head and just start flapping around. But they were all so great. And I kind of want to shout them out because they're such good dudes. We had Buck Lunick, Brandley Peabody, Nate Deerhammer, and Troy Kirkpatrick. My hat's off to them because, in a lot of ways, they put their bodies the most on the line for the movie. And, just did great performances for us. And, they loved it. And the rodeo communities at large were really, really great because what we would do is we'd have them ride, and then the rodeo committee and the stock contractors all agreed they would pause the rodeo.
Oh, wow.
And then Wyatt would go in his costume and then just kind of hit the ground. And then we would sort of pick him up from hitting the ground to leaving the arena. And the audiences were so great, and they'd clap, and, the announcers would sort of cue the audience. It was just so much fun. And then you got like a real rodeo energy in a staged scene because you were marrying the real thing with a little bit of acting, which is also kind of novel and fun for audiences. So there was just really great energy everywhere we went. And we were trying to portray it as it really is. We weren't trying to put a spin on anything. So I think people were really welcoming.
Well, I think you guys did a fantastic job capturing, the bareback riding because, and for anybody out there watching, if you don't know much about rodeo or bareback riding, it is the most physically demanding event in the sport. I know everybody says bull riding is most dangerous, but bareback riding is the most physically demanding event. And you guys did a great job capturing that, really, it was hard for me being a guy that follows the sport and has lived it my whole life. There was times where I'm like, man, I don't see how you marry the two together to make it look as flawless as you did.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we kind of had to, we created our own rodeo in Butte.
Mhm.
And that's where we did a bunch more rides with stuntmen, but then did a lot of close-ups. We used like a bucking rig and kind of all the tricks of the trade to
Yeah.
grab the close-ups and to sort of intercut. And then that was kind of the big job of myself and my editor, Glenn Garland, who's super, super great editor and also somebody who was really passionate about the movie, but was putting together this really kind of complex kind of, marrying this actual rodeo with this stunt rodeo. And it actually required so much planning, like to get the right colored horse, to wear the right shirt, to wear the right hat. I mean, it was like all these moving pieces that we were trying to track on the day. And I was really sweating bullets going to the editing room. Like, I really hope that we planned it out right. And
Because
I
you
was,
know as well as anybody, if you have a fan or somebody that is in rodeo, they're going to notice that like right now. I can't tell you
yeah,
how many
yeah.
times we're
There's going to
watching.
be things like,
Yeah.
first of all, you're not going to see like saddle bronc going on before he rides bareback. So there are going to be little things that people kind of, I think they're like, oh, that's kind of weird, but you can't, that's the thing about bareback is like, it's the first event. So if
Maybe
you
there's
want
a
to show,
reride. Just hit them as a reride.
there you go. You're my new PR guy. Any questions, I'm sending them to you.
Perfect. We're going to go to break right now, but when we come back, Carlyle Eubank and the movie Broke releases May 6th. Everybody make sure you put it down on whatever it is you have to remind yourself on. That artwork, when I seen it, I'm like, I know that artwork.
Yeah.
It's those almost great rides. Those are ones you remember, right?
Welcome back to the Luke Branquinho Show. Carlyle Eubank, movie Broke, writer, director. Man, Carlyle, you were talking about, the fine line of you living in this world because that's what you do, and then trying to make a movie where you can get the broader audience. And I thought you did a really, really good job on that. But I want to talk about, in the movie, you have some artwork in there.
Yeah.
That Wyatt is, obviously a bareback rider, but just kind of doodles. And that artwork, when I seen it, I'm like, I know that artwork.
Yeah. So that was a fun aspect of the movie. It's a dimension of the movie that, I don't even know that the trailer, if people have seen the trailer, maybe catch on to. I think there's like a little insert of a sketch. But the character True is kind of he's an artist. He loves to draw and he loves to sketch and all that, but isn't sort of aware that that's something he could pursue, as like a profession or a career. And so when I was writing the movie and thinking about who I could approach to do the sketches, because Wyatt, of course, is a really good artist, but maybe not
Not quite that good.
maybe not good enough. No, he's great, but there's an artist, a contemporary Western artist named Teal Blake that I've known for many years, and my wife knows him really well because she did some work for him way back in the day. And so I went to him and I said, hey, this is a movie I'm doing. He's a cowboy artist. If I got you like a list of the sketches that this character is going to do in the movie, can you quickly sketch these like in a notebook and just like mail it to us in Montana to our production office? And he was like, yeah, I'm game. And he did it, which is really, we were on like a deadline and I was a little nervous because, and this is no shade to Teal, but he can be hard to get a hold of sometimes.
Oh, I know.
He's the real deal. He's out there, he's cowboying and, he's a true artist. He's not glued to his phone. And that's just one artist. The gallery scene features a lot of Western artists that I really admire, whether it's Phil Epp or Anouk Kranz, who I think you probably know, the photographer Anouk.
Yeah.
And then my dear friend Rob Matthews painted like 3 or 4 paintings for our gallery scene. It was just fun, to bring a dimension of the Western world that a lot of people know about, but a lot of people don't really know about, or that a lot of people who aren't in the Western world don't know about, that there's a lot of cowboy artists. I really wanted to showcase that world.
Well, you did a great job bringing authenticity to the film in so many aspects, from inside the arena to outside, and that's one thing I appreciated when I got to watch the film. So we're going to go to break. When we come back, we'll have more with Carlyle Eubank. Did you model the character after any particular bareback rider?
I honestly,
Welcome back to the Luke Branquinho Show. We're getting close to wrapping up here with Carlyle Eubank, writer, director. The movie Broke. Before we leave, I got a couple questions for you.
Okay. All right.
All right. Did you model the character after any particular bareback rider?
I honestly, I did not. It's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of different guys.
Favorite country artist?
Charlie Crockett.
Who envisioned the editing?
Like, who did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, my editor was a guy named Glenn Garland.
Okay, you mentioned him earlier and
Yeah.
just did a fantastic job, right?
Yeah, he's incredible.
Favorite rodeo sport?
Bareback or
Yeah.
mutton busting, because that was the only thing I was really good at.
Carlyle, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. This has been great. Best of luck with the
Thank
release of
Thank
Broke.
you.
Everybody go check it out. And I hope you all enjoyed the Luke Branquinho Show with Carlyle Eubank.
Thank you, Luke.